And we are leaving. So, hello everyone. Hello everyone. Mic check. Mic check. I think everything should be working decently. Well, we will turn that off. Okay. Right. So, Esteban Ambrolio, which is very close to Bergoglio. So, I'm keeping an eye on you. Says it's a very good line of inquiry, but I thought in the debate you guys needed to be better prepared with facts about how destructive plant agriculture is. Garland Farms did a really good job of this in his debates with vegans. He would come in and say, no, you have to kill everything to raise a field of soybeans. It's much more death than grazing cattle. And he's right, it's a really good angle, but you have to be ready not to let them weasel out of it by pretending that keeping chickens is worse than banana farming, because it isn't. I would actually agree with that. The problem being that when you're dealing with these people, as I said in the description, part of debating vegans is endless lawyering. So you could show a study, and then they will say, oh, where's that study from? You tell them where the study is from, and then they will find the smallest possible infraction that the organization or the person writing it had, and then say that they could dismiss it. It's lawyering. You will not get anything done that way. Now, if it was a specific debate about the question of what is more damaging, I would have prepared for that. But it was about the ethics and the health risks or benefits, I suppose, of veganism. So it wouldn't have factored in. I know it wouldn't have. I've debated a lot of people in my life, and I know how it works. So I appreciate your criticism. It's always good to have more information and knowledge, and I do intend to give that particular topic more time and effort, but I'm saying it won't help in these cases. Hello everyone. So let's see who's already here. Sheffield is United. Hello, Swede. Hey då. Sugar Kush is here. Lux. Your name is Light. That's cool. Lux Lucis. Harrison Parker, hello. Michelle, Misinformation, Melaforta. Okay, this is one that always makes me stumble. Telecine McDonald. Is it maybe a French name and your name is Télésin? That would be... I just call you French, potentially, which is already an insult. Slow Boy Whiteboard, hello. The Dr. Crispy Rothschild, etc. Excellent. Well, Emmanuel Chasmic Gooski. You will learn Latin. I actually have to prepare a curriculum. It's much more difficult to do than you might imagine, adapting such a strange... As I said, Serbian is much closer to Latin as far as how the language operates than English is. So, okay, you're not French. Good. So that is the problem there. Are you a student or working in Serbia? I'm a Serb. I mean, well, are you asking specifically whether I'm a student or working? Because my job is mostly freelancing, which is oof. But I do intend to make this work full time because it would be great. I reached the threshold for monetization. What was it? 2 days ago or something, and I have to deal with that. So hopefully for Thursday we'll have that operational. I don't know how much time that will take, but that could be fun. I just got back from Bulgaria, so I'm aware of the drink options. They've got good beer, good good spirits and stuff, but they're Bulgarian. Can we send super chats now? No. I said this probably before you wrote DSims, so hopefully on Thursday. We get looks. Bloody Germans in the chat. There's the image of God argument, but even if avoiding theology, name the trait doesn't work, why would it be wrong to prefer one's own species? Exactly. But again, this particular type of argumentation is meant to be simple. Name the trait is again an act of lawyering. But if you try to bring it to metaethics, ultimately they have no foundation for objective ethics, so everything is preferences and all preferences are equal. So you can prefer non-humans, actually. What's wrong with that from their worldview? So general thoughts on the debate. It was fun, I have to say. It was quite a mess to have that many people on. I understand Andrew was trying it out, and that's fair enough. I just think it's too many people. Especially, it was a bit on short notice for me. I basically found out the day before, so there was coordination between me and Jim Bob, but it was basically he called me up and we agreed on what we would do. But then I've never spoken to Alex. I had no idea what he was supposed to do. We thought he would contribute more to the idea of the health benefits or risks. So, and Alex sort of started charging in. And I understand, of course, he doesn't have a duty to wait for me and Jim Bob to make our fancy schmancy philosophy arguments. Even one might say fancy schmancy take a trip to Francie arguments. And for our approach with the metaethics and epistemology, you need a bit of time. You need to drill in. You need time to apply the pressure. And there was just no time to do it. Even on the opposing side, you didn't really have proper alignment. Synth and vegan gains are not in alignment when it comes to ethics or anything. They just agree you shouldn't eat animals. That's basically the extent of their agreement. Richard Dawkins prefers rats to unborn babies, unironically. Well, that's probably a taste preference. I've invented a term for people like him and Attenborough, and so I call it Anglo-vampiric physiognomy. The other annoying thing is the argument about suffering. Suffering is often good work exercise. Yes. Synth, I wanted to go at him for this, like saying qualia. What does he think qualia is? Like all of this nominalism, and all of a sudden we all have qualia. Rubbish. So, is there any reason why you guys didn't challenge vegan gains on animal rights? He kept deferring to. Maybe I missed it. We had an idea of where to go, so you can't always just go on everything that seems like a juicy thing to go after. So again, he showed that he is inconsistent with that, especially when I brought up the SQ, which I haven't heard people use this type of argumentation, but I do hope it becomes very popular because it's so easy to use and adapt to your personal circumstances or when you know a person you wish to who tries to bring you into it. Because if someone just tells me I simply don't want to eat animal meat, or they can include dairy, eggs, and stuff like that. If they just say it, fair enough. I'm not going to make you. There are definitely things I don't like to eat, so who cares? But when you call it an ethical system and an ethical choice, and specifically one that is morally superior to omnivorous or carnivorous diets, then we're going to have a problem with that. Animal rights is an oxymoron. Vic Tim, the whole concept of rights is a very, very complex question. I specifically say to people, the reason why I would punish certain types of animal cruelty is not because I believe you're breaking the rights of the animal, but because you are not doing your human duties. Doing duties is a bit of a stupid phrase, but I hope you understand what I mean. Like you're acting in such an inhumane way that you are supposed to be punished for it. And of course, I don't care to imprison people or something, and that's just over the top, I believe. Posh has the same headphones NASA ground control used for moon landing in 1969. Why? They're very, very stylish, and I should know stylish with my Peter Griffin shirt. Helicopter pilots in Vietnam. Bear jail is glorious. To give an animal right would imply that you are taking away the rights of a living man, enforcing policy on a living man, and you don't have jurisdiction. I'm not sure if I would go with that line of argumentation. But again, animal rights is silly. Again, you would have to go with animal, duties as well, because as a human, your rights can be suspended if you commit crimes. If you murder someone, you've violated other people's rights, right? So your rights get taken away. We would have to apply the same logic to animals, and you're going to have a lot of problems with that. Posh is a psyop. Yes. Crabs' lives matter. I think it was in the debate with Jim Bob that he basically said he doesn't care about crabs. What's wrong with crabs? They're sort of cool and very memeable. Isn't there a problem about not being cruel to animals? Yes, but you treat your animals well. The debate about industrial farming is not the same as the debate on whether you should be allowed to eat animals or animal produce. That's again completely different, because of course you can say you shouldn't be cruel. They would say, well, killing an animal is cruel, but that's literally its purpose for why humans have them. I'm not saying they have rights, but it seems to be some amount of responsibility. Yes, and I would agree. I think as humans we have duties as custodians of creation. Like that is, in fact, also why you shouldn't indulge in excess. You should treat animals well, but their purpose is for food, or whether to be eaten, for the meat or whatever type of product they might contribute, milk, eggs, and all of that. Oh, you can't drown puppies in a backyard. That was a very common thing, litters of puppies and kittens being drowned, because people actually had to deal with consequences of actions. They didn't have all the excess we have today. So you need a dog, but you can't have, a couple of generations of dogs, and now you've got, a herd of them. So you needed to get rid of them. Of course, people also, what do you say, oh God, I forgot the word. rather uncharacteristic for me. Neuter them, yes, they neuter them. So, but that's a whole different issue. If they have rights, who do I get to neuter people I dislike? I also, this might play a part in what I'm trying to do here tonight, and that's you're going to have a lot of problems if you're going to say animals have rights as humans, because how do you get battery, unwanted touch? Because what, you see a stray dog, you get to pet it? Is that the case? Because you're going to have a problem. Like I can't go around in the streets and I see a girl I fancy and start caressing her. That's it's a funny scene in my head, but okay, how do you determine that with animals? They say, oh, they show it with body language and stuff. Okay, what if it's a scared dog? A lot of people approach dogs, the dogs get scared, they sort of try to escape, and they're shaking, and people, come up to them, start petting them, and stuff to calm them down. I can't do that with people, and for good reason. I first of all, why go around, chasing bloody dogs? But if it applies for humans, because you can't just have someone who's shaking and go over there and start petting them, and they're shaking because they're scared of you. Why? Because you would be violating their rights, their consent. Why are you able to do that with dogs? Who have the best of intentions? Good luck in court. Maybe you could. On an off chance, it was a girl who fancied you. And even then, I think it would be a stretch. Veganism is one of the most fanatical religions. They believe that they have jurisdiction of the entire world. They would enslave, castrate, dominate, control a fellow man in self-righteousness. Yes, they're incredibly full of themselves. They think they're gods among men. Because they're so good. They're so superior to all of us vile, barbaric, carnivores and omnivores. The expansion of SA would include petting. Do we figure in dog years and age of consent? Yes. So no saving puppies. Like an Arab. Well, they have different things in mind other than caressing. I grew up with the dogs, and I didn't realize the piece I missed out on until I moved out. And we had a dog when I was young, but when the whole NATO bombing of Serbia happened, the dog sort of went batty and had to be given away. At least that's what we were told. Sort of like how bunnies, escape into the woods. Try petting her dog first and try caressing. Yes, figure out, a sequence of actions. Damn, you pet that puppy, you going to PDF file jail. Exactly. So I suppose we should get to the question at hand. So, because it's the one thing I thought didn't need too much time to question. I sort of, as you might remember, I sort of threw the argument into the debate. What are the women like there? Probably more masculine than Western men. As I went to the gym today, I passed by a girl who couldn't have been older than like 16, and she was at least 3 inches taller than me. And I'm 6'1". So yeah, but you see, I sort of threw it in. I asked, "Do you season your food?" I think even though this doesn't necessarily have to be about spices, I think it's a good mimetic, thing to mention, because you can take it in all sorts of funny ways, mention all sorts of funny, examples of spices if you'd like, right? So it can be comedic, it can be lighthearted. That's one thing. You don't have to always go for slaughter and blood and screaming, right? You can have a very simple one, and that allows people to engage. A lot of people disengage the moment you mention, you have an argument about metaethics, and you say, well, why is it wrong, to catapult a baby into a tree, and then people go, what, are you mad? So it is a legitimate question if you want to have grounding for ethics, but on a practical level, a lot of people are just going to disengage and call you a loon. So that's why I think spices are a good thing to start with. Also, people like tasty food. I don't think it's a controversial thing to say and claim. But on the other hand, you are sort of forcing the other person to have to defend the same position they accuse you of. And the position they accuse us of is, and they use the term mouth pleasure, because everyone's supposed to have about a third grader level of vocabulary. I don't know why. And they say you kill animals just for the taste, right? Mouth pleasure. But literally on the stream, they said, oh, the taste, the enjoyment of food outweighs the detriments. So you see what is going on. They literally admitted the point. Another thing is, right, I usually start with salt, because you don't farm salt, you extract it from different types of sources. But you still need to process it, you need to transport it, you need to disturb Mother Earth to get it, and you don't really need it. And if there are things that there's a legitimate application for salt, it's important in medicine to have we call it literally physiological solution. It's basically a way to hydrate someone intravenously. Right, you can have it for that. We can all agree, both sides can agree, that if there's a medical reason, you should be allowed to have it. But if you're doing it because you don't want your potatoes to be bland, we have a problem there. Because you are necessarily going to have animals die to get your salt. You will need to extract some type of fuel, right, for transport, which is either going to be petrol or it's going to be electricity, potentially. But electricity needs to be produced. And how do you produce it? Whichever way you produce the energy, it's going to cause ecological damage. There is no avoiding it. If you're going to use coal, it's obvious. Right? If you're going to use petrol, it's obvious. But if you're going to have like a hydroelectric plant, you are disturbing all the fish and the fishies and froggies in the river. Oh no, the horror, right? So you're going to have that. You can have nuclear, and then, oh no, nuclear is the worst thing ever because Fukushima and Chernobyl and whatnot. If you're going to have solar or wind power, like those things, as I keep saying, are not woven from flowers by fair maidens in the meadows. No, you strip mine to get the resources to build those. And then you need the batteries, and that comes with its own costs, etc., etc., etc. Right, so you can't escape damaging it for nothing but mouth pleasure, which is exactly the accusation that gets thrown at us. So that is why I think, and again, if you want to step it up a level, you go with sugar. You need to produce, sugar beets or sugar cane or whatever. you need to farm it. And as then vegan gains said, that's not a rights abuse. Well, first of all, it would be property rights abuse. Like, why do you get to displace all of these animals for the sake of mouth pleasure? Right, bugs, mice, but also you need to kill rabbits, you need to kill moles, different types of vermin and varmints that are available in different parts of the world. You need to kill them because they will ruin your products. And again, not for something that you need. It's merely for something you like. Right. Again, you can go with sugar. If you're more familiar with other types of spices, right? Many of you are more talented and knowledgeable cooks than I am, right? I cook basic things. If you're more acquainted than I am, go ahead, develop that in your own in the direction you'd like to go. But then I mentioned oil, because specifically cooking oil, I mean. And I asked, do you only boil your food? Why? Well, if you want to fry things, and because you're vegan, fat and lard are out of the question. So what you're left with is oil, whether it's seed oil, right, or olive oil, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You need to have agriculture for whichever plant it is you extract your oil from, right? In Eastern Europe, it's mostly sunflower seed oil, right? In the Mediterranean, much more available olive oil. And here it's quite expensive to get it because we don't have the conditions to grow olives, right? You need an olive orchard. So again, you're going to have to protect those trees. And actually, they require quite a bit, I think 3 years before they even start producing. And you need to defend them from all types of insects and diseases and whatever type of damage. And all of this to say, why subject all of these animals to terror and death and inflict so much damage on the earth for the sake of you preferring to eat fried, chips and stuff, as opposed to just a boiled potato? Why? Right? By what right, in your own system, by what right do you get to kill those animals? So as we speak, the person, if a vegan at this point does not admit that it is immoral for a vegan to eat only boiled, unseasoned food, they are hypocrites. Let me read a bit of your comments. I didn't miss points. I have killed untold amounts of slugs and snails to protect my garden veggies. Yes, I actually kill quite a bit just walking through the dark. After rain, you just walk and all of a sudden crack under your foot. I don't like it. I find them to be humorous, actually. But I suppose you could keep ducks, D-Sims. Ducks tend to be excellent at killing slugs and snails. But again, they damage your vegetable garden, and you would need a vegetable garden, I suppose, if you're a vegan, unless you're one of those extremely high IQ people who think stuff materializes ex nihilo in your local shop that pays a bunch of regulators to be able to put the organic label on and charge you triple. Death doesn't have to mean terror. Yes, it does if you're vegan. Sorry. Grape rape. Vampire Frog is here. His Eastern European assensed we were we were nagging on the vegans. It's sort of the joke, people saying, what would vegans do in Eastern Europe? Like we have Lent, so there's a lot of things that would technically be okay for vegans to eat. Posh steps on snails and nails and puppy dog tails. I will have to have a shirt that says that. Just put it in the sentience testing machine. Yes. It's it's like a pregnancy test. You pee on it. Yes, I'll keep ducks in my small London garden. The neighbors will love it. Well, great. I didn't want to dox you. You doxed yourself. But yes, I know people keep ducks for that reason. Vegans use their magical sentience meter, yes. I'm going to sell vegan hand sanitizer that kills 0.0% bacteria. I actually thought of this, are you allowed to drink alcohol because you would necessarily destroy the biome of your gut? But then that's sort of a hook more to go into, okay, what qualifies as being considered alive and therefore worth protecting. Bosh, don't you know the debate meta is to take absurd amounts of Adderall? I don't know what's up with that fellow. I mean, I've heard things, but honestly, it's. I remember when I was a teenager, and you have a girlfriend, and when she's on her period, and it is the most insufferable thing to have to endure. But you sort of feel bad for them. It's not, and I'm saying specifically teenager because in your 20s, it sort of isn't that much of a problem anymore. I don't know how, but nevertheless, that's the energy I get. Sort of, you're not supposed to say anything. You're just supposed to listen. Well, then bloody talk to a mirror. God. My niece told me Posh is live. Yes. Posh, are you going to call in when BPF debates war? She will have to sing an old Irish jig. Maybe. Although the problem with these American-specific debates is that they happen at 3 a.m. for me. And I mean, I know Andrew tried to get the debate as early as possible, but it ended up being at 1:30 a.m., so 1:30 a.m. for me to start. And I ended up finishing at 5 a.m. So this would be even later. By the time you get to the call-ins, it's going to be 5 a.m. I also plan on having Andrew on if he would like to talk more about politics, because that's not something I talk about a lot. But I'm actually not a novice at that. Vegan gains his teenage period energy. I think he has clinical depression. I think I've heard that. I'm not sure. But it would explain, the demeanor. Okay, back to our topic at hand. Right. So you don't have to even stay with food, right? You can. I remember had to deal with certain termites recently, and I thought about that and saying, okay, what's more important, your stupid furniture or the life of a termite? Because then they would engage, I assume, with property rights, but then property rights are more important than human beings, especially the bunch of leftists who keep saying you're not allowed to defend your property, etc., etc. But you can take it in those directions. So the foods thing is safe, so I would advise sticking with that. But you can generally push towards minimalism, right? If you want to be a consistent vegan, you need to have a minimalistic lifestyle. Now, someone in the comments on the debate said that they failed when I asked the question. They exposed their hypocrisy, and then someone replied to that saying, "Oh, most agriculture is to feed the livestock that we're herding and stuff." But then they got into it, and this vegan said, "Well, if you wanted to be a vegan, to be a true minimalist, emphasis on true, I mentioned in my last stream, always look in a phrase that they use, always look for the weasel word, the word that does all the lifting and the word that they use to throw away things they don't like and include things they like." So true minimalist is this sort of platonic form of minimalism. And they said to be a true minimalist, you would need your own plot of land and be able to grow your own food, etc., etc., and then got into the whole, oh, well, there is no one who actually speaks, there's no just one veganism, there are different types of veganism, and there's no authority that speaks, authoritatively on behalf of veganism, etc., etc. So weaseling and weaseling and weaseling. Right, but they're actually worse than the prods. At least prods had the Bible. Like, these people just have literally anything. And I said, no. Weren't we told that it is also should be gauged on also your circumstances, the predicament which you find yourself in? Because if you want to have if you're a poor person, you can only give up so much. If you're a rich person, you can give up a lot more. That's also a Christian, teaching. But it is trying to special plead and say the perfect is the enemy of the good, right? So if you can't achieve this pure abstract minimalist lifestyle, might as well not even try or do anything about it. So again, that's excuse making. Another thing is the person said you need a certain amount of money and wealth to be able to buy your own plot of land, basically homesteading, vegan homesteading and stuff. But here's the problem. What I specifically asked in the debate pertained to seasoning, oil, and things like candy, cake, cookies, whatever, like delectables. How is it more expensive not to buy those? I'm saving you money, meaning that if you're poor, all the more reason to save that money. And as Synth seems to believe is the superior use of your resources, give it to some group or charity for whatever reason, because those are always honest and good. Right, condiments, yes, Dr. Crispy Rochelle, that's a great one to go to. Right, okay, you have mayonnaise, right, but mayonnaise uses eggs. But you also have, like we have here, again, this really annoys me about English. You don't have a word for food that is Lent appropriate, Lenty food, fasty food, but like Lent appropriate mayonnaise. It's horrible. Just give it up altogether. It's better than eating whatever that is. But why? Again, you go back to the industry, the production. It is all unnecessary. Of the topic, Posh, how was basketball in Serbia? Oh, I only watched like the first 2 quarters. It broke my heart. But well done to Germany. They played very well. Canada beat America because everyone was like, oh, it's going to be Canada-America, in the finals. And someone said, well, you wanted Canada versus America. Well, there you go, playing for the bronze. So, I'm very happy. We are known as the land of basketball. That's why we get, tall people, lots of people in the NBA and stuff. And as you said, that's off topic. So let's go. Vegan Gains said, let a child if he had one, starve over hunting a herbivore. But if his child, would the kid be a herbivore too? Yes, but he's sort of saying sort of a duty to act. He's saying this is what one of the callers misunderstood. He said you're saying you wouldn't help someone who is being attacked by a pit bull. He said no, I just don't believe you have a duty to. That's Lenten fare. Is that like a phrase? I've never heard it used. Because if that happens, woo, like my life would be 5% easier if I knew it as an adjective again. Watching US Open tennis, yes. Actually, I called into David Patrick Harry's celebratory stream, and I was sloshed because my friend and I were watching it. Once again, just Serbs being the superior race. There's no question about it. Missed the dang notification. I may need to get the Dr. Crispy brain implant after all. Hopefully it doesn't make me lactate soy milk. Right. Posh, get a donor chat set up yet? No. I gave Andrew the info. I suppose he will contact me when it's set up. But not yet. You will be informed when it does happen. By the way, to cook and eat vegan and get proper nourishment and prepare food that doesn't taste like shit, cardboard is not cheap. Yes, it's not cheap, but it's also unnecessary. When you say proper nourishment, that's sort of like saying what is healthy. Well, healthy is not being unhealthy. It's a very ambiguous term to use. So is proper saying you get right, you go get blood work done, right? You get do you call it blood imaging? I keep forgetting in English. Bosch, can you please talk to Kale again and get David Patrick Harry in on the convo, please? Is Kale avoiding DPH? I don't know. The last two times I talked to Kale, it was Andrew telling me, would you like to? But back to my point. Where was I? Right. I'm Lithuanian, you own this. Thank you for admitting that. It's always great. Like Lithuania is truly a powerhouse when it comes to basketball, and we're sort of the two that the little guys that go into it, and I mean we were basically just expecting to get into the Olympic Games without having to play the qualifications, and we ended up getting silver. So, and for some reason FIBA kept posting memes about stuff which was glorious and completely unexpected. Bless near you there. We use it in our parish all the time for Bosnia. But is it like just means so Lenten, I suppose, is the word I'm looking for. Bosch, what do you think about Bosnians? I'm not sure I want to get pushed off of YouTube yet. Bosch, you were reprimanding Crisp for using salt. I'm not sure what you mean, Athanasius. Bosch, read slow boy whiteboard, sorry. We are doing a meta stream snipe. Baron Strawberry is sniping Hoax Wars, who is sniping Owen. Please snipe Baron Strawberry. I don't know if that would be a wise thing to do. Perhaps. Let's finish this up first. So he's streaming now. I didn't know. I suppose I'm sort of I'm causing people to have to choose which one to watch. We should do a Bosnia stream one day. Okay. I'll try to figure out how to do that. So to round it all up, as I said, you can apply these things as you see fit. You can choose whichever spice of preference, right? Which is common. A condiment is a great one that someone added. I sort of didn't think of setting that up as a special different category, but yes, excellent one, condiments, because it doesn't matter. You are supposed to shift it from you don't kill, like you don't stab the animal directly to death to eat it, but you kill it for the purposes of taste again. Condiments tend not to be particularly healthy. So like with sweets especially, you go for something that is actually pretty unhealthy. So absolutely nothing to do with being how shall we say, lost my bloody train of thought. That tends to happen to me. As I said, my mind sort of just keeps going off on tangents, and by the time I try to get a word out, I've talked about 50 things. You can get celery salt as well. What? That sounds like something you would sell to people who sing in a cappella choirs. Celery salt. Owen's dead dog is here. Lenten is the descriptive adjective made of Lent. Wooden. Right, I understand. Lenten, excellent. So I can say Lenten food. Thank you. You. As I said, you made my life about 5% easier. Synthen Vegan Games won. What did they win? Right. As I said, the Vegan Games then went into, it's not a rights violation. We said, yes, if you say animals have property rights, you are confiscating their property rights, again, for taste, not for necessity, because that's again a different category. And then I also thought there's an affirmative form, like to propose something as opposed to just critiquing. And that is actually a hypothetical, and how hypotheticals actually work, which is you don't think, well, what, as Vegan Gains asked Jim Bob, in their one-on-one debate, what if there were Jews that were not made in the image of God? Well, what are you talking about? It's like saying, what if there was a carrot that could talk and has baby carrots? Would you eat that carrot? How does that bear any consequence on the topic at hand? What if there was an alternative universe that you didn't exist in? What would you do then? Well, I wouldn't exist, would I? But an actual hypothetical, and that is to say this: if there was a type of all vegetable and fruit based paste that had the lowest amount of ecological impact imaginable, right? The lowest possible. It keeps you fed enough to be healthy, right? Not to, I don't know, gain superpowers or something. Not good enough to keep you on like a bodybuilding scheme or something. And it was to be apportioned by a government, right, according to people's size, their caloric, their BMI and their basic caloric needs, but then also compensated for people who have to do manual labor, etc., etc. Posh, did you read my reply to you? No. Did you? If you commented while I was alive? No. Otherwise, I don't know. I suppose I would have gotten a notification. It often takes a lot more produce to convert into things like almond milk. Yes, and it's not even milk. It's just almond-infused water. It's false advertising. So back to the point. If there was this paste, again, because it's a hypothetical, I say it is the lowest amount of ecological impact. Doesn't have to taste good. That's not part of the hypothetical, but it keeps you well fed. It keeps you healthy, and is apportioned directly by the government. So you're not allowed, right? We're going for the minimalism. Is it your moral duty to subscribe to that? The paste is made of people. Someone should make a film about that. But it is the basic thing of saying you have to be again, to engage in a type of asceticism almost, in order to not harm animals. Because if you're saying, oh, it's okay to harm them indirectly, you don't actually care about minimizing harm. You just care about direct harm. Kauf's a lot. Soylent Green, I know, I was joking. Can you do an American accent, or maybe later? I can for a short while, and then my vowels start breaking down. Okay, Dr. Crispy Rothschild. So, as an ethical principle, veganism is simply the rejection of animal exploitation. But again, you would, if you would kill animals to plant, sugar beets or sunflowers to get the oil, you will have to kill animals. It is a necessary consequence of it, and you don't need it. That was my point. If you just say, okay, I will give up all the things I don't need, I would call you a consistent vegan. Because it is completely hypocritical for people to say, the things I'm willing to give up are a moral imperative, and things I'm not willing to give up are, just choices. It's neutral or something. No, you have to give up on anything that is not a necessity. That is how you are consistent with the minimalization of harm. If you just want to say exploitation as, like, I don't know, I suppose slaughtering animals would be part of it, right? But what would you do with that's a probability, not a certainty? It is actually a certainty. I mean, you can plant in incredibly unproductive manners, not use any pesticides, and not having to deal with any moles or something. But again, why would you even take the probability for what, again, vegans call mouth pleasure, what normal people call taste preferences? Why would you even risk it? Right? And when I was given the counterexample of driving, right, there's a massive utility to driving. It is basically a necessity for a lot of people. But again, that is going to be in your system, in your worldview. You have to deal with that. We all know a lot of things are risks, but I'm saying, if your critique of us is that we torture animals and kill them for taste, you are putting animals in danger for taste. And if you want to go, and again, I would say it's a probability. Yeah, sure. Like there's a 0.0000001% chance that you don't have to kill at least a cute, fluffy animal. Then it's nonsense. Like, have you done farming? Have you had to weed your gardens and then, use all types of pesticides to deal with the insects, especially? and birds. Sorry. I've never had tofu, so can't help you with that. Herbivores convert plants that humans cannot obtain nutrients from grass into highly nutritious and delicious food. Yes, we actually can't properly digest grass. You can get fiber from it, so I suppose you could try and go for that, but you will literally starve if you eat grass. I have said, and farmers have also said, that there would be more vegans and vegetarians if people kept and raised their own animals. More vegans and vegetarians if people kept and raised their own animals. Could be, actually. Mice, birds, squirrels, right. But yes, you would have a lot less of everything. You would have a lot fewer people eating, sweets if they have to produce their sugar. Like that's not actually an argument in favor of veganism. Mela would use a black block of tofu to make a cool drum sound by tossing it off a building. That's almost esoteric. We all out today, baby. The world will end before the entire population turns vegan. Could be. Because it's not going to happen, but right. So back to my paste, I said that is the affirmative argument to give. You need to sometimes people will take these very personally and will try to wiggle out of it. If you notice, the only time Synth was actually quiet was when I was interrogating vegan gains on this topic. And I'm going to guess that's because he had nothing to respond with. Because that's the only explanation for him being quiet. The other fellow was quiet, and I even literally tried to bring him into the discussion at one point to try and be, sportsmanlike. Didn't work at all. Peak tofu hatred. I can't hate it because I've never had it. So, but I will, side with you, just out of loyalty. Okay. Cracked out that night. I don't know. Posh, harm reduction is not a necessity for being vegan, though. It is for being a consistent vegan, because, then you could be arbitrary and say, oh yeah, but I can eat crickets. Why not? Because what, you're killing them? So? They're crickets, and you just don't like crickets. I'm saying you have to be, if you're willing to allow animals to die for your pleasure, you are breaking the whole idea of not exploiting animals. It's sort of like me digging like a spike trap, and if an animal falls in, well, I didn't force the animal into the spike trap. It went there by its own volition. Right, that's why I say that's very lawyery vegan rising. Intersex is the correct nomenclature, Athanasius. I'm not reading that, Athanasius. Best tennis player all-time, Federer. I have a duty to go for Djokovic. I actually really enjoyed watching Federer back in the day. One of the most graceful players you can watch. Nadal, sort of the opposite of Nadal. Nadal was always an animal, just ran like hell, which is the Djokovic is vegan. Yes, I believe so. I don't particularly care. I have a duty to my nation to root for him. And what were we talking about? Harm reduction. Saying there's a probability is not exactly, pleading for an exception, but it is just a technicality that you can be. Nije Djokovic vegan, jede tunu, brate. He eats tuna. I don't know. I don't follow these things, but thank you, George Dimitrievich. I know there was a whole hubbub about him, and then sort of giving up certain foods and stuff. And we all made fun of him. The entire country made fun of him. Right. But there's that song, It's Okay to Eat Fish Because They Don't Have Feelings. Have you thought of that, Vegan Rising? Have you thought of that song? He's unjabbed as I am. Yeah, that's what white people dubbed him Novax. IKEA glass. I never went to IKEA. We have one, at least one, I believe, in Syria. And I don't. The Swedes, I don't trust, except Shareholders United. But they're too glassy-eyed, as all Nords are. Over here, they have an old rainbow flag flying. I wouldn't be surprised if they did the same thing here. I hate them so much. Nirvana. Is it like their own song, or is it like the old Man Who Saved the World, like an old song? Sounds, silly enough to be their own song. In Serbia, we all know he is perfect, and everything bad about him is his wife's fault. Oh, God. That's so true, actually. As we were watching on Sunday, every time the camera panned to her, we were like, no, don't jinx everything. Right. So that's the basics of it. In essence, go for food preferences. I advise going with spices or condiments first, because it's, again, broad enough. You have both latitude on particular topic, or you have, again, latitude to specialize, or, if you know the preferences of the person you're arguing with. Second, go for sugar, because people know that it's actually bad for you. So that's, I would suggest, as level 2, because now you lose, even the idea, it's, it's for your health or something. Third, go for oil, because you again, I wouldn't say, like, seed oil could be bad for you. I will leave that topic to Tristan Haggard. But again, you are then forcing them into a position where they have to realize what they have to do to be consistent, to minimize the damage they're doing to animals, to minimize the amount of killing they're doing. And also, it's all for taste preferences, because they can't appeal to necessity, but they end up thinking of the most bland food imaginable, and you're forcing them to be consistent. And one thing I wanted to add is that even food preparation should only be done if you cannot eat that food raw, because you need a source of heat. You need, again, water is going to be a negligible amount of water, but you need a source of energy, and again, is going to be electricity. Go for what you need to produce electricity. or it can be like a gas, stove or something. Then you have to go again for fossil fuels. So how dare you force them to be consistent with their beliefs? I know. We need to be cruel sometimes. That's the ones to go to. You can apply any type of minimalism you'd like. How much clothing do you wear, right? Do you have to go have the cotton fields to produce natural fabric, or wool is obviously unacceptable. And another is right, you're going to get synthetic shirts or something, which are petroleum products, back to graping Mother Earth. So you can go with those things. How much do you travel for fun or only for work? If you travel for fun, back to the same thing. That's why I said it's a formula. It's not exactly just one argument. It's a formula to how to get people to understand what they would have to do to be consistent. And you can also use my, nutritious goop argument if you'd like. But I think that's very easy to understand and use in your everyday life without having to go too deeply into philosophy and stuff. So I hope it's helpful. If you use the term spice question, SQ, you owe me 5 cents every time you use it. Population that eat more meat and dairy are taller on average. Interesting that thing that Serbs eat average amount of dairy and milk worldwide, but Montenegro people eat more meat and dairy than Serbs, and they are taller than Serbs. So if you want to be short and weak, be vegan. Yes, so George, first of all, Montenegrins are Serbs. That's one thing. The second is, yes, because for those who don't know, Montenegro just means the Black Mountain. It's an incredibly, it's an area that is incredibly unhospitable, unarable. You can't really have a lot of grain grow there and stuff. So people relied mostly on meat and dairy, and they are incredibly tall. I think I mentioned my friend from there. She's a woman, and she's 5'9", complaining that she's short. I'm not denying that. I just wanted people to know, George, Yorgos, because they could get the idea that that's not the case. And stuff. Right. So call into Baron Posh. Now, synth can be bitchy spiced. Now, how do I go about calling into Baron Strawberry? I actually don't know how to do it now that I think about it. Prairie Muffin says it was a good and original argument. I never heard anyone go to the SQ. Me neither. I actually thought of it as my thought process before Jim Bob and I debated, is veganism biblical on modern day debates. But I haven't used it before because I didn't get to in that one. And I have not been in a vegan debate myself. Best basketball player, Doncic. No. Currently, I would still go for Jokic. Although he has betrayed us, hasn't played for Serbia in the World Cup. Walking up mountains makes them tall. I didn't think you can do that within Stream. It'd have to be using OBS. Oh, you're right. Okay. I do not use OBS. Traitor. But Doncic is outstanding. They always have fun, the two of them. The Orthodox Cathedral in Montenegro's capital is one of my favorite design buildings. Would love to see it one day. It's actually relatively new because the old one was destroyed under communism. And the Metropolitan they're now late, and I believe to be canonized at some point. Amphilochia, he basically led the resurgence, or post-communist resurgence of orthodoxy there. A truly incredible man. But it is an absolutely gorgeous cathedral. If you've seen the Saint Sava Cathedral in Belgrade, that's which was modeled after the Hagia Sophia, and I believe it holds the biggest mosaic ever recorded, in recorded history. So an absolutely gorgeous place. So check it out. And yes, Montenegro boasts that, and boasts one of the most important monasteries in Serbian Orthodoxy, which is Ostrog, Saint Basil of Ostrog, or as we know him, Vasilij Ostroški, an incredibly important figure in our history and also Serbian Orthodoxy. So that's fun. Okay, because I can't snipe or something like that, I'm going to post the invite link. So maybe someone wants to go argue. Maybe someone wants to add more, change the topic or something. There we go. I saw that underneath the Hagia Sophia are a bunch of gigantic Medusa heads. A lot of Christian churches are actually built on top of ruins of pagan temples. So, just so you know, it was actually a very common practice back in the day. When can we send super chats? As I said, hopefully by Thursday it will be sorted out. But I did reach the threshold for being monetized on YouTube. Studenica and Dečani told us medieval Serbian monastery. Nice to cheek. Suppose you mean Czech. Yeah, I mean Tumane, all sorts of others. So no shortage of wonderful monasteries in Serbia. But Tristix said the Parthenon still has traces of icons painted on it. Not sure if the Ottomans destroyed that or not. I'm not actually sure who destroyed it. I haven't checked that out. But again, it is spiritual warfare. That's why you either convert temples or destroy them and then build a church on top of it. Because the gods of the nations are demons. Is there any Serbian dialect where they say Crna Gora for Crna Gora? No, not that I'm aware of. Maybe some archaic form, because you will hear in other Slavic languages, they still use that ch. Like the Russians of Wocic. So that's the thing. Posh, are they teaching kids in Serbia that the Ottoman occupation was merely a presence? No. Not that I've heard. That's sort of how Croats talk about Hungary conquering them. You can call it a presence, but it's occupation. I mean, they won, so fair enough. But I don't like that. That's sort of like being a poor loser. They're doing that in Belgrade. Oh, BG, maybe you mean, sorry, BG in Serbia is like short for Belgrade, so you probably mean Bulgaria. Yeah, but They're Bulgarians. They're sneaky. Vampire Frog will support me on that. You look like a Roman of any relation. Hardly, especially because they were so German. I mean, ethnically, genetically. As I say, I look Mongolian. My brother, however, looks quite a bit like Nikolai II. Not as much as Chase does. Chase has monopolized the Nikolai II doppelganger market. Skoro se pojavilo u knjigama za 7. razred da je danak u krvi dao mogućnost deci da se školuju. Yeah, I've heard that. But that's not, while that could technically be true, that's sort of that's a type of relativism where people, we want to get rid of this old, hatred of the Turks or something, right? I've heard that. Not sure how widespread that is, but it's always like, we need to get along now, and if we teach history properly, we won't get along. Well, that's that's on history, not on us. Ali to su bile knjige Kleta nemačke kompanije. So Germans printed those. Typical German subversiveness. If you people haven't seen it, coming in to say hello, Posh and chat, enjoy the stream. Thank you, Lil Lo Main. An OG. Like if you've seen images of Nikolai II and George V of England together, they're like copy paste. And then there's a prince who was, I'm not sure if he was the brother or the cousin of Wilhelm II, right? We're all talking about contemporaries of Wilhelm II. I think it's his brother, Prince Heinrich. He also looks like Nikolai and George, but they were all first cousins. So, yeah. Royal families are fun. Parthenon was a Christian temple for 1,000 years with large fresco icons of Theotokos, then Turks turned it into a mosque. Venetians blew it up in 1687 as Turks were using it as a powder magazine. Oh, well, thank you for the info, John MC. I will have to read into that. That sounds like a fun thing to explore. Sorry, it was autocorrect. I changed it to Bush. Sugar Bush. Damn it, Athanasius. Posh's cereal is soup. No, because it would need a broth, I believe. Without a broth, it's not a soup. It's just stuff in water or milk in the case of cereal. One of the Kingsman movies has the same actor playing all three monarchs. Stonks. George V looked like a more reptilian Tsar Nicholas. Well, that's what the Anglican Church does to you. So it's not just the genetics you need to survive it. I was told by a Russian friend that borscht, which even I thought was a very Russian thing. He said that's more like in Ukraine. In Russia, it's not very popular. So I was shocked. I was shocked. Is Tarator a soup? I have no idea what that is. Oh, I forgot to pin the invite link. What are your thoughts on Charles III? Not great. So just let me pin that comment. Oh, God, I'm completely unprepared for this. Here I am. Here. Pin. There we go. Serves don't eat cucumber and yogurt soup, I guess. So, like, what? Tartar sauce? That's what I think of when I think cucumber and yogurt. Is a burrito form of a sandwich? Very interesting questions. I'm actually not sure. The argument, for example, that a hot dog is not a sandwich is that it's not vertical, right? That's one thing. But yes, a burrito is more of a wrap. So I don't think so. It also has no open ends or anything. So I think that disqualifies it from being a sandwich. Beef stroganoff is delicious. I think Eastern Europeans love sour foods. Oh, yes, we do. There's an old saying here in Serbia, put enough sugar into dung and people will eat it. For me, it's put enough vinegar into dung and I'll eat it. I've heard recently that the burrito was invented in California. I've heard it. Again, this is like hearsay. So it's like a lot of like traditional Chinese or Mexican food. They all end up being invented either by immigrants and sort of adapting them to the local populace and stuff. Sort of like a lot of people who travel to Hong Kong, and Cantonese food is known even in China to be rather bland, right? Their food culture is such that they don't like putting a lot of spices, but then Sichuan is sort of like everything needs as much spice as humanly possible to eat and survive. Hey babe, it's your favorite vinegar dung. Pickled dung. Sugar bush. Damn you people, ruining my ever so innocent mind. I heard that for Westerners, there is no such thing as too sweet. In East Asia, there's no such thing as too salty. Fair enough. Posh, why do Americans pronounce niche as niche? I actually don't know. Like, it's a French word, so pronounce it niche. That there's a lot of things that sort of gain in a certain locales, like a sort of pronunciation. You just go with it. It's sort of part of languages being living. Didn't pasta come from Asia? As far as I understand, yes. How do you pronounce didake? I believe I gave this pro tip when I was live with Jay, that if there's a CH that you pronounce as you would a K, it's a Greek word. But I know that sort of presupposes that you know how to pronounce it. I remember when I was little, I used to believe character was pronounced character. So you can't just deduce it. You have to know it by heart. But that's how you know things, and didake is one of those. I've heard people pronounce it didaki, but no. I prefer at least didake, although technically you could pronounce it didaki. Borscht was of Polish-Lithuanian origin. Beet borscht with sour cream, smetana, is cold summer soup. I know it's a cold one. Regular borscht with beets and other vegetables plus meat, beef, is eaten in winter. Okay. We don't have that in Serbia. But it would explain why it's more associated then for him as a Russian, why he thought of it's a Ukrainian thing if it's from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth thing, because that's where it would be. Folded like a character. Chariot character. Exactly. Da bi napravili razliku između našeg Niša I francuskog Niš. So the part of the bishopric I'm in is in the city of Niš. That's what the joke from my compatriot was. It's literally Niš back in ye olden days called Naissus, and is the birthplace of Emperor Constantine the Great. And they will not let you forget about it for 10 meters without seeing a sign of something either being called Constantine or dedicated to Constantine. There's actually 3 Roman emperors were born in the city of Niš. But obviously, like, Constantine is sort of the goat. So yeah, that is cool. No one seems to be calling in. So if none of you are available, I guess I'll keep this up a bit more and then call it a day. Oh, tomorrow I turn 29. So last year I celebrated that I survived, the 27 club. Now I'm out of the 28 club, which doesn't exist, but why not? Posh, what's the deal with shower thoughts? I don't know, I'm more of a shower sing guy than a shower thought guy. I've been to Nice, France. I haven't, but I know of it. Happy birthday. Thank you. Veganism is the way, it's the truth. You see, that's vegan rising. That's sort of why people think you're a religion. I would say Christ is the way, the truth, and the light, and you say, well, that sounds like a religion. I would say, yes, it very much is. Thank you for the happy birthdays, but as I said, tomorrow. I was actually born almost at midnight, so I missed it by just one, but like under half an hour. But thank you all for the congratulations. I'm going to try and make Thursday stream like more of a celebratory one. Bring out the guitar, sing some Serbian songs, have some fun. I don't have to make everything dreary and depressing. С днем рождения, Пош. Спасибо. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Многое лето. Mine is this Sunday. Well, Melaforta, excellent. Very late summer gang. So I'll have to remember to congratulate you on Thursday to make it closer. If I just congratulate you now, it would seem like hedging my bets. It's a bit sneaky, and I'm not Bulgarian. The Posh Spice question. Veganism is in line with Christianity. Well, no. Because the same God commanded animal sacrifices. I don't know if you watched my and Jim Bob's debate on modern day debates about the exact topic of is it biblical? And it's not. The practice of Lent is about rejecting luxury, which meat was for the vast majority of, let's call it civilized, society. And I mean civilized as opposed to like nomadic ones, because they had a lot more meat based. Because if you're nomadic, you're not going to be doing a lot of, agriculture. Posh, could you explain the Hebraic conception of God as presented in Genesis 1, the Elohim? Thank you. Oof. That would have to be a whole stream. I do have a debate coming up about who's the real Messiah on the Crucible. And it's going to I'm going to have to deal with that, and with that very question, because of the name of the Lord and stuff. Talk about the angels. So it's a very broad question to ask. Christos je među nama. That's Christ is in our midst. Yes, I believe that's how you translate it. He is and forever shall be. That's why Jesus went against animal sacrifices. That's the end of the ceremonial law. He ate fish, or even multiplied it. Almost Bog.
Bog ti pomogao.
Hello.
Hello, Posh. I will talk in English so rest of population can understand us.
Yeah, we will be otherwise, accused of being Bulgarians.
No. We just need to form Serbian Empire again so we can talk Serbian.
Yes. Go
I
ahead.
mean, we can look at England what they did. Like they conquer all the world, so we can. I mean, people that say that veganism is biblical, they need to understand that in Orthodoxy, when we did the Lent, we actually, when Lent ended, food money that we saved during the Lent, we would give to poor. So why then vegan don't say, okay, money that we save on food we will give to poor? But the interesting thing is that actually they are spending more money to be the vegan than saving on the food today. Like it is more expensive to be a vegan today than to actually eat the meat, especially
Yes.
in the countries that don't have access to the grains, to the food, like in Africa and Montenegro and so on.
Yes, and the big thing is, again, we don't reject meat because it's bad to eat meat, or it's immoral to kill animals to eat them. No, as I said, the point is to give up something that is good, otherwise good. And everyone knows, like, when the midnight service ends on Easter, right? Like as the Lent is over, what do? You have a giant feast because there's a time for feasting and a time for fasting, right? So it is a way of imposing discipline on yourself. It's not a dietary preference, nor is it an ethical question of what your diet should consist of.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we are not doing this because it is ethical question. It is because church revealed to us. Like it is church order. If church said otherwise, then we would do it. And what more? At beginning of the church, so first century, actually, when people did the Lent, they did fast for 7 days, not eating anything. And later on, they changed it so it could be easier on us. So
Yes.
actually, so imagine today you cannot eat 7 days. I mean, in Orthodox Church at beginning of the fast, we have that 3 days, 3 where you don't eat anything. And even on the Holy Mountain recently, they changed it so you can drink for 3 days. But 100 years ago, they didn't let that, on the Holy Mountain. So that show that like church will let you like slide today more than in the past. But today, I believe it is harder time for us to like keep keep like fast and so on.
Yes, and it's the question of what we call economia in as far as it relates to the church, right? Not economy as we use it today, which is more like a monetary thing, but basically the rules. And the church has the right to impose certain burdens, and how much of a burden it imposes on different people, even your Your priest can make things lighter for you. For example, if you're sick or if you're pregnant, right? You discuss it with your priest. He blesses you to do this or that, right? Okay, you can eat fish, because you're pregnant, you need it. It was recommended by a doctor. The thing is, it's supposed to be a sacrifice on your part. Another thing that was changed is confessions were done in public. But then it proved to be a burden that a lot of people would sort of hide things, they'd be too embarrassed to confess it, and it ended up being more of a burden on people than you could say it would be worth in doing it in that way. So that's when it changed into more of a private form of confession.
Yes, and what more people are not understanding, like they're saying that that is despotism, and people, when they say despotism, they mean that someone have great amount power over some subject, some land, some people. But actually, like title of bishops in Greek,
Yes.
despot. So actually, bishops are despot in Greek, and so they have a large amount of power.
Yeah, but also we call them.
Can I just
Okay.
introduce myself? Actually, I am theologian, like I have diploma and so on. So
Awesome.
I know what I'm speaking. So it is not like I don't know. So yeah, bishops have a lot of power. So people like I believe that people are not understanding in Serbia too. Like in Serbia too, they don't understand how much bishops have power over the church, even over some canons. Like they can overlook some canons if they see it fit. Like even in canon say like this canon is applied if bishop, but bishop can change it. Like even canon say that.
Yes, we call it canon law. We call it the rudder, right? It's something you steer. The bishops, actually, not we, the bishops steer. But yes, a lot of people have the idea that bishops are like bigger priests. I don't know how to phrase it exactly, but bishops, we in Serbia call them vladika, as in most Slavic nations, which is also a type of calling someone the ruler, but it's sort of affectionate. Like I don't want to say the good ruler or something, sounds almost like North Korean. But you will also hear people from the Antiochian, under the Antiochian patriarchate, they refer to their bishops as Sayedna, which means master. But again, as you said, despota, as Greeks refer to their bishops, etc., etc. So just to ask, Sveštenik Milan, you are a priest?
Yes, pomaže Bog. How are you?
Bog pomogo. I'm very well. It's a lighthearted thing. We had a vegan debate and stuff, so I wanted to review it. But thank you for jumping on, Father.
I work as a priest for jails, prison ministry. Also have a small, tiny parish. But some of my colleagues, they turned vegan. And we went yesterday to Starbucks on our lunch break, Starbucks coffee store, and they said, we want milk, which is not real milk. And I was just observing, Posh, what you said, or maybe Georgia, you said that is expensive to be vegan than to be to eat regular food. Actually, food is not the most important to achieve kingdom of heaven. My role model is one former Protestant bishop priest who became Orthodox nun and abbess in Finland, Mother Sophia, and in her monastery, she, after divine services, she has 3 tables: one for those who fast strictly, one for those who fast lightly, and one table, she never offends them, for those who do not have that experience of fasting, not those who do not fast. So you have all kinds of meat, you have cheese and eggs, and you have strict diet, vegan food, because we are vegan when we fast strict. Also in my parish, I have one old lady. She was refused in my birth city bar not to receive Holy Communion because they said, did you have a breakfast? No, just a coffee. No, you cannot have a Holy Communion. And I said, you will have in my church Holy Communion. Try not to have coffee, but if you have coffee, I mean, small Turkish coffee will not take you from God. We are not liberal, but we are trying to be soft on people, especially here across the ocean. We are after every Orthodox family and converts, and we want to present the essence, which is the more important than the forms. The forms are rules and regulations, and definitely we want to be very soft on people. So being a vegan means not being more spiritual, but trying to discipline yourself. That's all. But I really enjoy your presentation, and you're very outspoken, and you just say whatever you like to say. I admire that. Yeah.
Thank you, Father. It's very rare to receive such a compliment from a priest. Usually, it's received, with a big cross in hand, sort of waiting to be smacked. But I try and represent Orthodoxy well.
I mean, I try to eat like only when fast. It is fast and only vegan type because it is fasting period, and like I can do it, but I literally gain maybe 1 kilo, 2 kilo during fasting period. But
Awesome,
when
Pastor.
when there is no fast, like when I cannot fast, like, and I go on keto diet, like, and we all know like what keto diet is. Maybe Father doesn't know, but it is mostly eating meat and dairy food and maybe tomato and so on.
Yeah, very low carbs, so as little sugar as possible to enter
Yeah,
ketosis and stuff like that.
25 grams and so on. And literally, I lost 60 kilos on it. So, like, I would say that, like people will say, like, on veganism you lose. Like, it is not. It doesn't matter. Some people will, like, on keto diet lose much more than on veganism. So, I always say try what works for you. Like, don't look other people. I'm not saying
Yes.
that because I did keto diet and everyone else should do. Like, no, like try what worked for you. Like, if you feel healthy on veganism, like Novak Djokovic that eat tuna 2 times a week, then do veganism. Like, he's winning slams. He is best in the world. Like, for me, like, when I do keto diet, like, my skin is better. I don't have nothing bad, like pop-ups and stuff like that, and I feel more healthy. When I was studying, I gave most exams like when I was doing keto diet, so that works for me. But that doesn't mean that it will work for you. Do what works for you, and when you are doing that like that, I ask your priest, can you
Yes.
continue doing that diet during fast? Like, when I was losing 60 kilos, it was actually fast, but because I was so fat, I needed to ask priest, can I continue doing that diet? And he said, okay, you lost already 20 kilos. Like, continue that until you lose all the weight. Like,
That's what
and
Father Milan was saying. You have to have it's not just following rules. You talk to your priest. He blesses you. If for you, 60 kilograms is a lot of weight. So it was also a health issue. So you talk to your priest, and he might bless you if he decides, like your spiritual father, if he decides you should stop, you should stop. Right, that's also a thing. It's not like ask him, but whatever he says, you try to find something said by some church father or something that is like a loophole to escape proper spiritual discipline. So you should avoid that definitely, but talk to your priest and don't try to figure things out for yourself, because that never ends well. People who do that always invent 10 different rules that makes things easier for them, or just like to, as we call it, piety signal, and do what the Lord warned against for those who try to have sunken faces, as they fast, to make sure people know that they fast.
Yes. When we fast, we should never brag, and when we pray, we should never brag. God knows. So being modest, being humble, and being low profile, and being reachable to all people. So we who are in church, priests and other lay members of the council, should not be someone who is untouched, unseen, unreachable, as Christ was reachable for the worst people in his society, and he gathered the worst people in his neighborhood. So the say from Vuk Stefanović Karadžić rečnik or vocabulary, s kim si takav si, is a fake. S kim si takav nije si, because Christ get the worst people around him, the Matthew tax collector, the Mary Magdalene prostitute, the Peter who was almost insane. Why? To change them and to make them better. So we should be always available 24/7 to talk about God, and to somehow to encourage people to think positive, not to power positive thinking, as Norman Vincent Peale says, believe positive, or
like Elder Thaddeus, who said "Kako su ti misli, takav ti život." So more like a spiritual.
Otac Tadej Terbulović, I knew him personally, and then you have Doris Peck, kako zračiš, tako privlačiš. Then you have Ana Bučević, Vortex, and all that. No, we don't go for that. We have a Bible. Bible is our only source, and we just give a try. So what we can say, God will do rest of the work, and
yes.
our salvation is through him, and we don't have much expectations. We only hope on God.
Yes. So I'll have to introduce the others. Matthew, you were here first.
Hey, how's it going, Posh?
Going well, thank you.
Awesome, man. Hey, I think y'all did a great job on the debate the other day, like 2 days ago. But to the ethical question, something they kind of skipped over is people who, like myself, who have backyard chickens. If you have only hens, they produce an egg every single day, or pretty much every day. So if you eat those eggs, there's no loss of life. There's nothing is dying. It's not even a fertilized egg. It has no chance. I have 12 chickens. If I don't eat eggs, I will have 84 84 eggs every single week. So they kind of skipped over. I know that the point they were trying to make is, well, the chickens, you have to keep the chickens in a pen, and it's kind of mean to the chickens or whatever. They didn't really talk about the whole issue of the eggs like we have, and also just the fact that there are not really wild chickens. I mean, there are wild chickens, I think, in southern Asia, but as far as just roaming chickens around in the Americas and all over the world, they don't exist. Same thing with cattle. We've been using cattle for about, I guess, 10,000 years, and there are no more wild cows. So I'm not really sure, should we just release all of these animals out into the wild and let them die slowly of starvation or predation? I don't know. They kind of, I get, when they want to make the argument about factory farms and some of the conditions that the animals live in, but you don't have to eat those animals. There are, at least here in Alabama, there are options. There are farmers, there are people you can find that raise their animals well and take care of them. And yeah, I think y'all had brought up the point too about the cost of like healthy veganism. You really have to spend a lot of money to supplement things that you get from animals. And it's really just, in most of the world, it's completely unaffordable. It's not even a practical thing for people to be vegan. They would starve to death. So I thought you guys did really good in that debate, though.
Thank you. It was a bit hectic. A lot of people trying to make different points. Jim Bob wanted to go into the metaethics of it. I wanted to go into the metaethics of it. But also, we had two people on their side who disagreed on these points. So I don't know, you couldn't actually execute any type of attack efficiently. Also, Alex sort of took it into directions I wouldn't have, and sort of derailed the thing. Again, not to blame him, but we didn't coordinate in any way, so he was trying his best, right? I'm not saying that in an accusatory manner. To the point you were making, I think I brought up the chickens and just taking the eggs, but I can't actually remember properly. I think I just brought that up, but then they say, oh, it's like slavery, man. You're forcing the chickens to stay in a certain place. And again, these people don't raise animals. They don't do anything. They're city boys who buy stuff. Supplements, I don't know how they make, what supplements they take, etc. Also, the problem, there are certain points I wasn't trying to engage with because they were near the end, and I'm by no means an expert. It's the question of bioavailability of nutrients in food. Right, when I was little, everyone kept saying, oh, you eat a lot of carrots, you get vitamin A, and that's good for your eyesight and stuff like that. But again, it's the question of how much is accessible to you. We can't digest, wood, but wood has a lot of calories. So it doesn't matter that it's very high in calories if you can't eat it and get access to it and, metabolize it and stuff. So again, lots of lawyering, lots of weaselly maneuvers to try and skirt the point. As I said, they literally said that the taste of sugar outweighs the problem of animals dying in the process of cultivating, processing, and transporting sugar.
Yeah, I mean, and plus, when we turn to domesticating animals like chickens and cattle for their food or for their hides or whatever, it wasn't out of some type of luxury. It was out of that's how they had to survive. And they can't just go to a supplement store and pay $80 for a jar of some kind of supplement, some kind of iron or some kind of thing that you get from eating meat, and they can't just grow every type of vegetable to cover all of the nutrients they need either. It wasn't like they were like everybody could have just been vegan. Like we would have civilizations that would have just been wiped off the earth if that were the case. So it's just, I don't know, man. It's just kind of I get what they're saying a little bit about factory farming, but it doesn't take a lot of space to raise 5 chickens. It really doesn't. And they are very happy to just get out and to scratch around on the ground and eat worms and beetles. So, for them to say, oh, we're keeping them, I guess they go back to the factory farming where they think that people with backyard hens keep them in little cages where they can barely turn around. And that's just not the case. They have plenty of sunshine. They get out, they scratch around, they enjoy scratching and digging for things and laying and taking dirt baths and things like that. So their argument just kind of falls apart on that. But it is a luxury. That's what they don't really understand, is that it is a luxury to be able to be healthy on a vegan diet. Usually, if you are on a vegan diet, you're probably starving unless you are supplementing with a lot of other things.
Yes, and people get into all types of deficiencies, especially things like iron deficiencies, and they have to get that done. And then, again, it's a very luxury position to have, and that's why I can't really take them seriously. As I said, if someone simply said, I don't want animals to die for me to eat them, I feel bad for it. Okay, if that's your position, fine. But if you say it's a moral imperative to forbid certain types of food, like we would say cannibalism, we forbid it, but we have to have a moral reason why. If it's not, oh, I don't eat people because it makes me feel bad, No, we have all types of ways. We try to talk about, being made in the image of God and stuff. So why we don't do certain things. If you just appeal to certain aesthetics, negative aesthetics in this case, like imagining, chickens with their beaks, cut off, or the wings being mutilated in different ways, it's also a health risk. Eating animals that were raised in poor conditions, just shot full of antibiotics and stuff. But I think it falls flat. And the argument that I was highlighting today shows that they are willing to give up things that they are willing to give up. That's the important thing. And the things that they should give up to be consistent, but are unwilling to, they say, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, cake is more important than preserving the rabbits and moles and rats and mice and everything you need to kill to harvest these plants.
Yeah, and that's why they hop back and forth between a nutritional argument and an ethical argument, because they can't really hold ground on either one of them. So when they start to get cornered into an ethical problem or into a nutritional problem, they just switch sides. But man, I'm gonna hop off here. It's good talking to you. God bless.
Okay, thank you for hopping on, and God bless you too. So John Hoffman.
Hi, Posh.
Hello.
I think we're still on the debate, right? Is that the spice question?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. My godfather, he was like one of the first vegan, not on the production side, like organic farmers back in Australia. And it's laughable how insane it would be to try to switch over our production to veganism. Even the United States, because I live in California too, Posh. I live in the breadbasket of the entire world.
God,
I have access to every single kind of food on the planet at all times. And even here, it's hard. Vegans, you have to supplement, you have to spend, I think we're now to like $500 to go to the grocery store if you're like a vegan, a week, maybe a month. So it's laughable,
Also, I didn't get to make this point, but they said vegans live longer on average. Well, that's going to depend on a couple of things.
Yeah.
If you are from a middle-class background, for example, and you get to choose, your job isn't working in a factory or construction or something, your body is going to have and if you're a health nut in addition to that, so you don't get your body destroyed by physical labor on one hand, and you're a health nut on all the other things, yes, certainly you could live longer. But that's also going to be the bias of your economic background, for example.
Right.
Correlation, causation thing. And that's one thing. But as you said, they eat so much things like the Impossible Burger or whatever it is. It goes through processing. It requires industry. It requires transport and stuff. Why don't you just eat your potatoes? Vegetables you can eat raw, you eat raw. If you can't eat them raw, just boil them, don't season them, keep it always at a minimum to not harm the animals, because that is specifically your reason for doing this. We who eat, they say, oh, but you do you season meat? Like, yes, but I'm not a vegan. This isn't part of my ethics.
Well, also the growing peppers. I mean, the pest control involved with peppers and crazy.
Oh yeah.
Long
can
pepper.
Can I say to Father Milan and Georgia, I'm from the south of Serbia.
Niš.
Not from Niš, but I'm in Prokuplje.
Nice.
Okay, but here in the south, where I am, we are the land of bell peppers and stuff, especially Leskovac, and it's Ivar season. So we're preparing for that. But I know, people talk to me about it. It's very easy, even once they're picked, it's so easy to get worms there and stuff, because they're, again, very nutritious, incredibly high in vitamin C and stuff. but yes, very susceptible to pest.
Indeed. Who's it? Not my priest, but a friend priest of mine. I don't know. He just went back home. He's in Serbia right now. I can't remember. The place he's from starts with a K. It's relatively.
Kraljevo. Kraljevo. No?
Yes, I think that's.
Kraljevo, Kruševac, Kragujevac.
I think the first one.
Okay, Kraljevo.
Yeah, that's what he said. But he's going for a month. It's his first time back in like 9 or 10 years.
Oh.
Manastir Žiča, Kraljevo, jeste.
Yeah. So there's also the Church of Sveti Sava. He's back in civilization again.
Yeah. Getting away from all these crazy Californians. Back home. I also
imagine the relief.
Yeah.
California is not crazy. You have a
especially
Seraphim
Jackson.
Rose. What about Seraphim Rose?
Yeah, and Jackson, California, we have Saint Sebastian Dopovic.
AD 94, the oldest church. Yeah.
Yes, I've been there.
Seraphim Rose.
Brother Marco, he's lovely.
Very interesting person. And I don't know, Pash, did you heard of Father Zoran Đurović? Father Zoran Đurović, he's now a priest in Kalemegdan. He used to be priest in Saint Sava's church under ecumenical patriarchate in Rome. Very free spoken. So he spoke whatever he wanted. Didn't care if he is talking to bishop or someone. He was very open-minded. That got him to some problems, but he is famous of criticizing some saints, and especially he is not fan of Seraphim Rose. And I read his posts. Seraphim Rose was sinner who repent, but he had some negativity, and Father Đurović could never put with that. He said you have to be positive regardless of what, but that's actually not the subject. The subject is that veganism, I don't support it myself. I know the Bible strictly says that we cannot eat the animals. That's after Noah's flood, which they have eye teeth. Očnjaci, cats, dogs, I don't know about bears, and of course cannibalism. Pashi was saying that that's strictly forbidden and all that, even that happened in history. But I don't see. I respect those who believe different and those who are vegan, but I don't see the point of it. But I definitely respect. I have friends who are vegan. They are Hindus and they are Sikh and they don't eat no meat, and I respect that. I went in the Gurdwara and they have a restaurant in the temples and food is very tasty. I tried very sweet rice and some sweet vegetables. They put lots of sugar, which is fine. It's weird for us in Balkans, but it's okay. But I don't.
I like the Hungarians then.
Yeah. But veganism actually, to not be vegan is not a sin. So the bad thing is when vegans become like sects. Like a Seventh-day Adventist, for example, Helen White, who said there is no hell and all that. And when they say, "Oh, you eat animal, you are against God," definitely, God gave us a permission after Noah's flood that we could eat meat. So that meat is optional. Veganism is optional. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
Yes, and also it's something to talk to your priest about, right? Don't go around pushing ideologies like this. Again, I talked about the fact that I know people who are vegan, but I didn't know about it until we were discussing where to go and get something to eat. It's the fact that people who are annoying are the people who are going to get in your face and talk about it. The ones who are reserved, you won't hear anything from them. So that's why we have the idea that all vegans are annoying. And it's also part of this modern transhumanist movement, trying to evolve away from these primitive things like eating animals and dairy and eggs and stuff. And I think it's a very anti-human agenda. It's part of destroying tradition as well. It's part of destroying the countryside. It's part of making people weaker. Again, if they choose by their own volition not to do it as a form of, even like if they're Christian, as a form of personal sacrifice, go ahead. But rejecting, embracing this modernism is, I think, anti-human and therefore anti-Christian. So, yes.
Vegans don't eat honey, and they put on tea maple syrup because honey is a bee product and bee is an animal, so they can be sometimes not annoying but funny. But I respect everyone's views. So that is the
when we listen like and they say vegans are living longer, even I'm putting that in the doubt, because how can they know? Like, is there some large population that is vegan in the Western world? Like, it is not religious. Like, we know that some Hindus, but not all, because we know that like they are diverse. They have like Krishna, and so on, and they have their own practice. Basically, all the temples they have different practices about eating food and so on. So,
Also,
but in the Western world, do you have some population that when they are born and then they die, they were vegan for whole their life, and then
I
you
don't
took
think
that
so.
population, let's say 1,000 people like that, and say, okay, they lived longer than people that eat regular food. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because
Maybe here in California, we've had veganism for at least 2 generations here. The San Francisco Bay Area. So
that is 40 years.
that's a couple thousand people.
Average lifespan is 70 or 80 years. So that you need at least like 100 years. So
Okay.
yeah.
And not only that, vegans don't wear the clothes, leather jackets, because it's from the animals. Ladies don't wear the shoes because they might think it's from the snake and all that. Goes sometimes to extreme, but only one thing is we should never allow them to be annoyed to us, so they can believe, said, okay, I'm not interesting. Like one Holy Father says, what's happened if someone tells you the worst words? Said that's like a gift, you do not accept it stays in his hands. So actually we should be very very calm about that and listen their opinion but not accept it. Yeah,
I think that farmers should take rats and should take rabbits that they killed and make jackets out of them, and when they sell vegan food, they say these are jackets of animals that we killed and then give to vegans, because they would say you need to wear them for you to eat. So.
Yeah, and if you buy a certain amount of food, you get a free jacket.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start wrapping things up. We've been live for over 2 hours. So we had a record number of Serbs on a stream today, both Father Milan and George.
Pozdrav, Đorđe, pozdrav. Kako ste?
Pozdrav, oče Milane.
Odakle ste?
Mogu budem bolje, malo me grlo boli, ali...
Iz kog grada se javljate?
Ja sam u Beogradu, na poslu za to.
Iz Vancouvera.
Ne vidi šef.
Vancouver, Prokuplje, Beograd, odlično, baš fino.
Kakva trifekta, neočekivana. Okay, so wonderful that people are getting involved. So this was not really too much of a religious topic, but it is something we deal with every day. As Father said, we should not allow ourselves to be angered or also feel a sense of superiority just because we do what is normal. So we shouldn't allow others to disturb us. I think Saint Isaac the Syrian talked a lot about a man who has achieved, proper calmness in the spirit, does not does not let himself daily reading of Isaac the Syrian of
Yeah.
Syria. Okay, yeah, that's the same
Exactly.
thing.
This book was said. Yes, exactly. Yes.
That's what I thought you were mentioning. But again, wonderful words of wisdom from him. So yes, it's not about talking about how much better we are, how bigger we are, or anything. Ultimately, all deceptions come from the demons, and the Lord talks about the works of those, not specifically that the Lord hates the people, but the works of the people. But as he also says, they're all enslaved. We are all enslaved by sin and things. That's why we constantly seek repentance and to purify ourselves. But we shouldn't develop this hatred. It's a trap also from the demons to fall into a sense of pride and superiority, but also anger. Anger is the devil's cocaine, I believe someone said. So to end on that positive Orthodox note from Saint Isaac the Syrian. And thank you, everyone, for being here, for all of you who have called in and contributed. I'll be back on Thursday, as I said, because it's my birthday tomorrow. I'll
Happy
make
birthday, srećan rođendan, mnogo je ljeta.
Srećan rođendan.
Mnogo je ljeta. And I'll make it like a fun stream. I'll take my guitar, sing some Thomas Zdravkovic and things, make it more of a party atmosphere. And so, any closing words from you? Any of you?
Predivno je družiti se s vama. Đorđe, vi ste teolog, je li tako?
Da.
Fino. Jeste završili teološki fakultet, jeste?
Jesam u Beogradu.
Bravo. Odlično, hvala vam. Poš, vaše ime je Pavle, je li tako?
Sava.
Kako?
Sava,
ja sam mislio Pavle, Pavle, da, Poš.
ne, prosto igra reči u odnosu na to kakav sam inače i kako zvučim, na primjer, kad pričam engleski, pošto je na akademskom nivou upijan jezik, a nisam neko ko bi bio tako nadmen ili bogatun, da kažem, pa sam pravio igru reči, ali ime mi je Sava.
Odlično. Ako želite, Đorđe i Sava, možete zapratiti moj YouTube kanal. Sad kad završimo mogu napisati vama, eto, razne su teme. Ja volim da se družim i sa Hindusima, i sa Sikima, i sa muslimanima, protestantima. Moja velika prijateljica je doktor teologije, ona je anglikanska sveštenica, žena zna više o pravoslavlju nego mnogi od nas i tako dalje. Baš je, da kažem, nešto kao Henry Hill koji je napisao Light from the East, anglikanski biskup, nažalost pokojni, koji je poznavao pravoslavlje gotovo kao Kalistosfer. Tako da
on je govorio o njemu, kaže da je verovao da je pravoslavlje istina, ali da veruje verovao da mu je misija od Boga da ostane u anglikanskoj crkvi i da bi učinio što više dobra može.
Jeste, jer on imao tu liberalnu struju, episkop Pike iz Los Angelesa koji je bio gotovo u potpunosti liberalan, nije priznao, imao problem sa Presvetom Trojicom i tako dalje. Nego da vas ne zadržavamo, da se zahvalimo. Bilo nam je izuzetno prijatno. It was pleasure being with you and great blessings. You were all blessings and kindly thank you.
Thank you, Father. So your channel, you mentioned your channel. Is it in English?
In English and in our language, and you can follow it. So ja ću vam baš poslati jedan. I will actually I will put my on commentaries, right? Is that?
Yeah. Comments.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pin it in the comments so people can check out your work.
Okay. Kindly thank you and God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you, Father. Thank you. Okay, John.
Through the prayers of Saint Sebastian Dopfik, may we all be saved.
Thank you for that prayer. Georgia dropped out. Did you want to say anything, Georgia?
Želeo bi da vam kažem isto, pošto planiram i ja da pokrenem neki YouTube kanal uskoro, bit će razne teme, mislim, ne znam da li će pokrenem jedan na engleskom, jedan na srpskom, ili će da bude, da kažemo, neki video na engleskom, neki na srpskom. Moram da razmišljam koliko je to bolje, može bolje da pokrenem posebno.
Odakle si rođen, Đorđe?
Ja sam rodom iz Šumadije, Mladenovac.
Aha, a da, ja sam mislio, po akcentu, mislio sam prvo negdje Užice, a poslije sam mislio Niš, a tu si negdje između, baš fino.
Pa tu, tam da se vidi, mislim.
Da.
Htio sam da kažem još jednu priču, da primjer kako vegani kažu ja sam vegan, da svi znaju. Nekad, ima jedan svetitelj u Rusiji što je bio i on je otišao kod ruskog cara na prijem i bio je post. I njemu je car dao da jede meso i hranu koja je mrsna. I on ga gledao i uzeo je tu hranu da jede, on nije odbio cara. Ali posle toga nije jeo 2 dana. To nije uvredio čovjek.
Bravo, jeste, to treba svuda gdje nam ljudi postave, treba jesti, ne treba tu sad izigravati svetitelja, jer što je rekao Sveti Vasilij Ostroš, Vasilij Veliki Kapadohijski, Kesarijsko-Kapadohijski, ne jedete meso životinjsko, ali jedete meso brata svojega, znači nervirate ga i tako dalje, ne smijemo tako se ponašamo. So we should not offend people if they give us non-fasting food. We should eat it even if it's Lent, because it's more important to not to offend our brethren than to keep the discipline word by word.
Yes, Saint Paul actually says that he would, because in his time, you didn't have like secular slaughterhouses; it was all meat sacrificed to idols, and he said he would rather stop eating meat altogether than cause people around him to think, oh, it's okay to eat this meat that was sacrificed to idols, right? So his concern is his brethren. It's not a dietary thing. That's sort of the opposite side of it, of saying, if a priest visits you and you don't know it's Lent or something, you're inquiring. I've heard this story. A priest, this man was interested in Orthodoxy, called the local church, but he lived far away, and the priest took a bus to get to him, and he didn't know about Lent and stuff. And as he served food, the priest just ate. Again, the exact same example. Not as fancy as an imperial court, but he was trying to be a good guest. And you don't make a fuss about it, because you can make people feel bad, and he feels like he's lesser than you or something.
I can give you some even more like moral conundrum. Like I have a priest that when he was young he go to seminary, but high school seminary. In Serbia we have high school seminary and faculty seminary, basically. So if you go together, you can go 9 years to seminary. So when he was in high school seminary, he basically went with his teacher priest to other church to ask for monetary help. But what happened, I believe it was Friday, and it was fast. And wife of priest serve like kevapi and all the meat and so on. And my priest wanted to say to his teacher, like, can we eat it and stuff like that. And teachers just say, be quiet. And they ate, and after that, priest agreed to give money to help that high school where children are taught seminary. And that teacher said, okay, if we made a fuss that they are not fasting, like wife would be offended, priest would be offended, and they would not give us money, and we would like be prideful and so on, and we would do much worse than just say like we are fasting. And I'm saying that because I notice in our culture we don't have that much vegans that say we are vegan in Serbia, but we have a lot of people that say I am fasting, like when they enter the door, like I am fasting, like they everyone need to know. So to fellow Orthodox, when you are say I am fasting when you enter the building, so everyone can hear you, like you're actually acting like vegan that you are making fun of. Like,
Yes, and doesn't our Lord say those who seek the praise in public and they receive the praise, they receive their reward, but those who do things in quiet, the Lord will reward them. So, okay, you want to get praises, you fasted to get praises, and you got them from people around you, but
Yeah.
you haven't done it for the Lord. So it wasn't actually an act of sacrifice; it was a trade-off. You wanted, sort of like if you go to the gym and, build up some muscles, and then you're saying, oh, I'm just practicing physical discipline. But then you end up, wearing like the sleeveless shirts and, taking pictures of yourself. It's not sacrifice. You're not doing it to impose discipline on yourself. You just want attention. So it's a spiritual thing in essence, a problem or an illness. And exactly, when the Lord is upset with Israel in the Old Testament, he says, your sacrifices are an abomination to me, because the whole thing is that you are not giving your sacrifices, you're sort of doing it to do it. There's no actual love of God behind it. And St. John Chrysostom, when he comments on the Cain and Abel story, he says exactly that. Cain wasn't rejected for what he sacrificed, but how he sacrificed it, because he was thankless. He was envious of his brother. And this is the biggest thing when we approach communion. We say, I am the worst of sinners. It's the mindset to have. It's not about, okay, let's gather around and try to calculate how much, who has sinned, and say, okay, well, this week, this guy is the worst, and things like that. It is an important thing in Orthodoxy that we are not, we reject the idea of legal rulings and things like that. That doesn't belong in our faith.
I heard that Jehovah's Witness actually wanted to build a city of 144,000 people, and
No, they believe that only 144,000 people will be saved. And I have all of the books of Charles Taze Russell, their founder, and actually their belief is that only those people will go. Same thing, some Sufi Muslims, they believe, those who believe in 12 imams, they strongly believe that there were 144,000 prophets from Adam, that they call Adam, Adam, to the last prophet, which was after Muhammad, which is one of the 12 imams. But actually 144,000, that's kind of tricky, and that's I can say you have that in Hindu tradition and in many traditions. And for example, in Sikh tradition you have 12 imams, 12 gurus, and here in Sufi you have 12 imams. And actually Charles Taze Russell maybe copy pasted that idea from somewhere, and that, but actually when you go to debate with Jehovah's Witnesses, which I often do, I talk to them, they're very shallow. They're good people, but very shallow. That's like kindergarten, especially. And I like now talking with the ECN, Ecclesia and Cristo, Church of Christ from Philippines. They are so interested. So we went to discussion: is the Orthodox Church mentioned in the Bible and all that? But that's a subject for some other topic. But actually, Jehovah Witnesses did not want to build city here on earth, but they believe that is city, that heavenly Jerusalem, what we say, Nebeski Jerusalem, will fit only 144,000 people, and everyone else will be out. And I said, what's the point of even trying? So the spaces are already taken. So I mean, we can be the worst sinners. There's no point trying even. But
Yeah, but I was speaking.
I like to them. Yes.
I was speaking about some specific Jehovah Witness circles that they thought that they can even build on the earth. It is not all, like it is small minority, but I'm just speaking about like some circles even believe that they could build city of 144,000 people. But what is interesting with Muslims that they believe that 144,000 prophets are actually below the Mecca, and they are sitting in the praying position. So if you want scientific Quran miracle or Islam miracle, just dig up the Mecca and find the prophets. Like it is not that hard. Like,
well, did you see the grave of Adam? Because he was about either 50 or 80 feet tall, and it's like a giant tube that's covered in prayer rugs and things. So that's an even easier thing. No digging needed, just open it up. So,
I mean, we know that he walked from Sri Lanka to Mecca when he fell from.
Well, haven't we all?
Yeah. So happy birthday on Thursday. I might not join you because I will be on a boat going to Seattle, and actually I'm going tomorrow, and I'm coming for a weekend to do divine service. Happy birthday! And next presentation is a week from today, correct? Same time.
About. I don't have a very strict schedule. You know, I sort of try and think up what's the best thing to do. I also plan an interview soon, so I'll see, but probably next Tuesday.
Great being with you. We learned a lot, and my proposal to you: write a book, bilingual book in English and in Serbian. People will have lots to learn from you. Write it from the heart. It doesn't have to be. Actually, you are theologically skilled, very good, but doesn't have to be very high language. Simple language is the most important to reach the people. But write a book. It will be very valuable and useful for everyone.
Thank you for the suggestion, Father, and the confidence in me.
Yes. I follow you for a month, and you are just doing good job. And otherwise, I will not appear in show with someone who is, let's say, theologically speaks nonsense or is annoying or some. You're just making right to the point, and you are outspoken about every subject. So very sincere, I can say. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Isto i za tebe, Đorđe, važi. Izuzetno fino pričaš. Izuzetno mi se sviđa tvoja prezentacija. Yeah, I like your presentation, Đorđe.
Hvala, brate. Thank you, brother. Actually, father.
Thank you, brother, father.
Okay, mi smo braća.
We are all brother in Christ, but yes. You are father.
Moram da idem. Božji blagoslov svima vama. Dolje ću napisati u komentaru moj YouTube link. Možete subscribe ako želite. Svako dobro, srećan rođendan još jedan put. Živjeli.
Hvala.
Veliki pozdrav tebi, Savo, i tebi, Đorđe. I svima vama. Greetings to all of you. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless. Okay. So I did not expect someone from the clergy to jump on. You are also being theologically educated. That's great to have people who can contribute from an academic level. Anything else you want to say, Georgia?
I mean, I listen to a lot of your I mean, your debate and so on, like, and I am already like I know like that circles. And interesting thing is that when you mention what they will do with animals, like actually, I believe that cosmic skeptic said that like it would be best thing that all animal disappear, like all
Yes.
animal disappear from the earth, so you will no longer have suffering. But
Yes.
and that was like their like most logical conclusion from their logic. But at the end you can return like why suffering is bad. Like
Yeah, it always goes back to that. Why is it bad to suffer? And actually, Jay makes this point a lot. He says, "How do you know that one person's enjoyment isn't greater, or isn't equal, but even greater, than the suffering of another? So they don't even have to balance out. You can have more enjoyment in general, because." And he is sort of going to the reductio ad absurdum, going to show how do you measure these things, and you can't. And in the debate that we had,
this question, like when you are doing mathematics, like for you to put like say like you can like divide or multiply, or they need to have let's say same nature. They need to uh, they need to be same. They cannot be different. You cannot mix in Serbian we say babe žabe, basically. Like granny and frogs.
yeah.
So can you put our suffer? Can you then subtract suffering from happiness and so on, pleasure? Like, are they the same or are they different? Like, if they are completely different, like you can say like because some people are suffering and having pleasure at the same time. Like
Yes.
let's say like this, like when we are fasting, so we are, let's speak about fasting, we are bodily suffering, we are like it is hard for us to fast, that's why we are fasting, because it is hard, but we are having pleasure because we are doing God will. Like God will is for us to fast, for us to make ourselves better, and so we are having pleasure because of that. So you actually can like have pleasure and suffer at the same time. So
Yes, it's how you measure it, and again, you can't really. It's sort of just supposed to make you feel a certain way, like, oh, who knows how much a cow suffers when it's being killed, and things like that. But again, as you said, you can suffer and even profit from it in this sense, for the sake of spiritual joy that you gain from bodily suffering. Not
and when
suffering per se. It's not like you're hurting yourself deliberately, like whipping yourself and things like that. But you're keeping your passions in order, and you get much greater joy from it.
and when cosmic skeptic and people like that are vegan and mostly atheist, they act like you can have slider and then you can slide, like if you slide maximally then you have most pleasure, when you slide minimally you have more suffering. You don't have many sliders, but you have one slider. So actually they accuse us that we are thinking simplistically, that we are only thinking about one thing about ethics and meta-ethics, but actually I believe that their metaphysics is actually much more simple, because it is actually just one slider. We say that world is much more complex than it is about suffering, because it is not about suffering, it is about
And the thing is, they not only is it that, but their metaphysics don't exist. Even they can't tell you what consciousness is. It's all this giant, just natural mechanism, and you're just a meat robot, or whatever phrase they like to use. So pain and suffering are like, if you cut yourself, like, and you feel pain, it's the body telling you that there's been damage done to your arm or wherever, right? So to say there's ethical questions there just because you feel pain is nonsense, because you feeling a certain way is just, again, mechanistic. You're not actually some entity like a human being. You are just a part of this mechanism, and you have certain innate reactions to certain stimuli.
And if you're a masochist, like, would you say that like cutting yourself, it is suffering? And then, like, because we don't know what animals are thinking, we can say all the animals are masochists, so we don't need to care about killing them. They don't suffer.
We pay an animal psychologist to say that.
Yeah. Like, he was masochist, like it was good for him.
Well, they fight all the time, so maybe they are. Okay, Georgia, I'm going to
Good
close
night,
this off.
brother. Bless
Thank
you.
you for calling. God bless you too. Okay, folks. So that's it. It ended up being a much more fun stream. It seemed to me at a point that no one's going to call in and I have to close off early. But turns out we had a priest on, we had Matthew on, John Hoffman, and Georgia. We covered certain topics and aspects of orthodoxy, and it's actually it's humbling to have someone from the clergy call in, especially when they wish to compliment your work, and glory to God for all things. So, Vegan Rising, I'm closing off, so maybe at some other point, I know you don't call in, and I don't know why. So next time, maybe we go there. I will check out the comment you left under the debate. So we'll continue there. Thank you, everyone, also for the compliments. It's wonderful. And I technically, I'm one of those people who doesn't know what to do when they receive a compliment. But they are very much appreciated. So as I said, Thursday, fun stream, a bit of singing, a bit of again, call-ins to any topic you'd like. But that's it for this week. And then, as I said, I will try to get Andrew on, talk about politics more, because people don't, whenever they talk to him, it's either more adversarial or they ask him more about the orthodoxy and things, at least the ones I've seen. So I want to talk to him about that, give my sense. As Dr. Crispy Rothschild says, David Patrick Harris is going live in an hour. Is that correct, Dr. Crispy Rothschild? Because if you need more content, and especially more serious content than me being what's the term? Oh, damn it, I forgot an old-timey term. Whippersnapper. That's the one I want to go with. So you can go to Cotel. Dr. Crispy Rothschild posted the link. And thank you, everyone, for being here and for the call-ins, and talk to you on Thursday. Again, thank you and God bless.